Alright. Welcome back, everyone. Questin here with more World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Classic. So, some quests over here. Over yonder. And also some quests to turn in here. Some other quests in some other parts of the area. Like, I still have all the troll quests over here, and I do also have a couple of quests from this particular hub, like the Sporgar hub, all that kind of stuff. So, I'll probably be 64 by the time I'm done with Zangarmarsh, which, by the way, is a pretty good level to be in. Like, generally with questing, what I want to do is I want to ensure that I get that I have Shadowmoon Valley and Valley and Netherstorm, or at least large tracts of Netherstorm, available to do at level 70. So anyway, turn in these two quests. The other ones will require more time. The fillets I'm probably not even gonna do. So anyway, regardless, I'm going to see if I can find people to do the group quests, the Naga group quests, over here in this region. Leader of Darkrest and alright, we got ourselves a shaman who is probably gonna die. But yeah, we'll see. So I want to do these two quests. These group quests will give me 20k XP each, so that's 40k in total. And then once I am, let's see how much play I have. So 4 hours and 30 minutes, which is actually a pretty decent time, considering I'm not exactly the most efficient leveler that exists in this world. I mean, you gotta understand, like, for anything between at around 4 hours, probably gonna be like 4 hours is probably gonna be a really good 4 or 5 hours is a really good number to get at this particular time in terms of level per hour. Oh. Now that's a well-geared high warlord right there. Okay, good. One is dead. Alright, so one is dead. Let's go get the leader of the blood scale, which is just to the north. And then I'll head over through the north, just exploring along the way. But head over to the north, get the last pump. Actually, I'll get the drain along the way. And then get a bunch of the quests from the troll village and eventually the druid and Sporgar quests. Maybe even do Underbog to finish the job, but that depends on whether or not anyone is even interested in doing an Underbog, and it seems like a lot of people treat Underbog like some venereal disease that must be avoided at any and all costs. Regardless, okay, boss is there. Just gonna eat a bit, and then we shall go. Alright, let me just get the drain location, so I'm gonna just start moving through the lake. Well, not necessarily through the lake directly, there's plenty of mobs inside of the lake, so I'm just gonna skirt on the edge here. Okay. Let's see here. Here's the thing, Zangarmarsh is totally a much better zone to do questing in than say Hellfire. I don't know, maybe it's the zone layout, whatever. Maybe it's the design of the quests. You can call it whatever you want. But it just feels like a genuinely much better zone to quest in overall. So what's my intent? Well, right now, I think what I'm gonna aim to do is probably reach, I don't know, like 66, something like along those lines. I do have 350 gold, but I do need obviously a lot more. Like I need over 1k, so I need to make 650 more by the time I actually reach 70 mount and all that stuff. Is that a fell iron? No, it's not fell iron, sadly. Leveling blacksmithing can be a pretty damn slow process. So I'm honored with Cenarian. It's gonna take, well, the quest that I have will give me a bit more rep, but it won't be enough, nowhere near enough to get me revered, but that's fine. I mean, there are ways to cheese the system at the end of the day when it comes to getting revered. I have 8.46% chance to hit, by the way. I think, what quest do I wanna... There we go. So I wanna turn this quest in, the Drain Schematic quest, and get this particular ring. The Warrior Ring of Precision. The alternative is the Cloak, but the Cloak is actually worse than the one I have, because, yeah, it has 2 more hit. Whoop-de-fucking-do. It would give me like 26 attack power versus 20, but it doesn't have any crit due to no agility or crit rating on it, so it's actually a worse cloak overall. Anyway, once I'm 64 and once I'm done with the quest here, I will obviously go into Terracar. Terracar won't quite give me 66 unless I do an obnoxious number of dungeons, which I'm quite frankly not willing to. Like my goal for tonight, for today, that is, keeping in mind it's early in Europe, my goal would probably be to reach 66. If I can 67, that would be great, because that means I could get 70 on Wednesday. Well, my add-ons are LVUI, basically. You have a link to my profile in the description. That's all you need to know about it. Do I think the TBC population is healthy? I have no idea. To be quite blunt with you. When it comes to TBC population, why is there a quest there that shows playing with fire? Okay. Well, I guess I know what the where the quest. Alright, let me pick this up. I can't answer that. I mean, yeah, there are enough this is one of the most densely populated servers. Do I think the population is healthy? Yeah, sure. For a server of this kind of size, it's fine. I guess I am a bit surprised by the low number of layers we were already seeing, so I don't know, maybe it did drop off a cliff when TBC came out. Or maybe people aren't so eager to rush playing TBC because there's fuck all to do in the long run. And if you tell me arena, I'll laugh in your face, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't give a crap and have never given a crap about the PvP systems in World of Warcraft. Also, PvP is fucking broken because you get very little honor, so it's actually a pretty insufferable grind trying to get honor points to be able to do any proper PvP to get any. Okay, let me see this particular quest. Turn that in. 2,500 experience. Pretty decent. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, it's always going to be difficult finding people to do dungeons outside of peak hours. That's undeniable. But that's always been the case. Look, people have work to do. They have jobs. They have families. They have real-life commitments. That's the reality of WoW. And it's the reality of WoW in any version of the game we're talking about. And it has always been. That won't magically change just because TBC is TBC just recently came out. Also, this is what you get with the summer release. I'm just gonna say that very clearly. This is purely on Blizzard. Like, if there's population issues, it's purely on Blizzard and the fact that the game is out during the early summer. What do people want to do early summer? I don't know. They want to go out. Like, it's just that simple. Or they're forced to go out. Well, forced is a bit of a strong word, yeah. So it's always one of those things when it comes to, like, if there are population issues, which, well, I'm not necessarily sure there are, but if there are population issues, or if there are going to be population issues during the Burning Crusade right now, it's because of those factors. Because, well, tier 4 is garbage on its own, which it is. Tier 5 is the real raiding content that launched with TBC, not Blizzard selectively deciding to go with only tier 4 because they wanna drag it on for longer. And make no mistake, by the way, whatever people might think would be a good reason for like whatever justification people might think they have. The count of the marshes. Huh. Okay. At the end of the day, the real reason that why Blizzard is delaying the release of tier 5 is so they can have tier 4, so they can have TBC Classic last longer. Now, this is fine from the perspective of some people. Me, I personally don't give a shit. Like, this is one of the things that should be realized in conjunction, like, with regards to, well, WoW in general. This is no longer the old days. This is no longer how things used to be. An expansion of WoW doesn't, like, these days, an expansion of WoW probably shouldn't, or a version of WoW, right, shouldn't last more than a year, maybe a year and a half, depending on what we're talking about. Like, if you're gonna tell me, like, we're gonna have 2 years of Wrath of the fucking Lich King, okay, so half a year of the first year, which is basically Nax 2.0, woohoo, that's gonna be fun. Won't you have fun, ladies and gentlemen? Then half a year of World War, okay, that's fine. But then, what, half a year of TOC or a couple of months of TOC followed by over a year of ICC? Fuck that. It was unbearable back on retail. It's gonna be even worse in Classic Wrath. Now, of course, there's problems with that, partly driven by loot drops. Because there's some things that are really, really difficult to get. That's the biggest problem. Everyone wants the DPS. Well, when it comes to 5-man content, you just can't expect tanks. Like, tanks have a lot of their own stuff to farm, right? Priorities. You can't expect tanks, so it's like, oh, we're gonna run the dungeon groups or the DPS. It's like, no. I need those totems. DPS are overpopulated always in... DPS are always gonna be overpopulated. Especially when you don't have dual spec. Simple. I mean, we all still need quest, right? We're doing it as a tank or healer is just like a pain to worry about. Maybe it would have been a good idea for Blizzard to basically make it so that the respecking costs until you're 70 are low. Very low. It would have helped bring more tanks and healers for groups. Yep. Well, Paladin in general, questing wise, is gonna be always painful. Regardless of spec. Ret isn't much better in this respect, unlucky. Alright, I need these totems of protection. This is actually one of those quests that's absolutely worth doing, as painful as it might be to complete. Why, you might ask? Simple. Because this quest has a foul, at least if you're a spellcaster. Maybe not so much as... maybe if not so much if you're... maybe not so much if you're a physical DPSer. Alright, gonna get that stinger. Yeah, Alkanai Crypts is a bit ridiculous right now. Okay, where is that damn thing? I know it's around here somewhere. Well, it's dead, of course it is. That's fine. Kill more Draenei then. Okay, 6 out of 10. So I just need 4 more totems. The Count of the Marshes. Some shrooms. Still dead. Probably is a recent kill. I'm on layer 2 though. How many layers are there, I wonder? Just 2. Am I gonna play 9.1 if I get the bloody time to do it? Maybe. Probably not at launch though. I might play 9.1 if I get some leisure time in TBC, but that's like not likely to happen for a while. But if there's downtime in TBC, sure. But don't expect anything serious from that. For me, when it comes to Shadowlands, my objective is firmly gonna be TBC. Got a lot of arena ahead of me. Got a lot of work on this warrior, on my paladin, on my second paladin when I eventually start leveling that. Lots and lots of things to do. Well, I think everyone's been waiting for the next big MMO for a very, very long time now. Or a lot of people have. Like, the whole WoW killer thing is really all about finding a game to ultimately just give us a great experience that we had when we originally started playing WoW, which we just don't have these days. But let's just say I'm not particularly confident in any MMO that's being worked on right now. Not Ashes of Creation, not the Riot thing. I mean, the Riot thing might be the one game that actually will manage it. Just because, well, Ghostcrawler knows what the fuck he's doing in many ways. At least in terms of class design. Not necessarily so much in terms of peak content, though. But we shall see. Although it's always tricky to know, because apparently there were ideas, there were things that he wanted to do. With like Wrath that just didn't make the cut. Hello there. Hello, hello. I'm just killing Nagas right now for their claws. Just need a couple more. Alright, Overseer dead. That's a good question. What item is best? Probably save up all the badges for the trinket, maybe? I don't know. Hard to really say. Oh, daily heroic is Cephalic Halls. Sounds fun. Yeah. Yeah, there was a really good shield, so... Yeah, trinkets are hard to come by in TBC. Right, so gonna get the shrooms, and then yeah, get one more shroom and I'll be good. Get the glow cap as well. I will want, I think it's what, 10 of them that you want. So keep gathering glow caps. No one else is, so that's a good thing. So anyway, about 5 hours from 63 to 64. Then I'll go in Terracar, hopefully. If I can maintain about 5 hours, that will be fine. Per level. Can potentially speed it up by obviously doing some of the dungeon, can I crypts, all that kind of stuff. Well, we shall see, we shall see. So, these are actually better than the ones I have. Well, not really. Actually, they're not, I'm wrong. If I get... So, yeah. Right, so if you are a caster DPS, you want to do this, and you're fresh, you want to do this quest from her, the totems are annoying, but you get this trinket, and that trinket is pretty damn good. You can really use it until you get the badge trinket, depending on what kind of class you're playing. So yeah, don't skimp on that. As annoying as the fucking quest can be, and it is exceptionally bloody annoying, don't ditch doing that quest. So, and then you get the follow-up. Like the totem quest, get 10 totems from the broken Draenei is, well, pretty annoying, but well worth doing. Anyway, so we get some bugs to kill. Now, what I could do, and maybe what I should do here, is just go to the auction house. I mean, I have gold, some gold on my paladin. Go to the auction house and see what kind of gear is available, just to replace some of the stuff I have. Man, that's a really nasty spellcaster debuff. And it lasts a fairly lengthy amount of time too, so it's like, yeah, doing this quest is probably aids. If you can't dispel it, that is. Thankfully, there are obviously ways of dealing with that. If you are a spellcaster. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna go talk with the druid over here. There's 2 quests I gotta turn in. And a third I wanna pick up. As what, a warrior? Yeah, you're gonna have to make do with some DPS pieces if you want to hit. It's plain and simple. Well, if you're playing a warrior, you want to get headgear at the end of the day, though it's gonna take time. Alright, I want to get some of these spore sacks. Or a lot of these spore sacks, actually. This might become a bit of a problem. Because it is a debuff. Nah, I can't just get rid of. Well, I mean, if you're leveling, yeah, you're gonna want to use DPS gear while farming. Like, if you're playing a warrior in TBC, like, I would not necessarily recommend just go Fury, really. You can tank as Fury, you could even spec into Defiance. I haven't really. I'm not necessarily fond of Fury tanking in TBC, but it can be done. Your problem is not necessarily gonna be survivability, it's gonna be threat. So it makes doing dungeons an obnoxious experience. My advice to anyone that wants to play a warrior in TBC, well, first, don't, because quite plain and fucking simple, there's a lot of fucking warriors from vanilla. And yeah, I know I'm playing a warrior right now, but this is an alt, it's not the main character. And I will obviously have problems. The sole reason I'm doing this, even playing this character, is because, well, I need an alt in this guild that I'm in. Why do I need an alt? Splitter rating. And that's the only real reason. And because the guild asks it, and well, in a guild like this, as the one I'm in, you do what the guild tells you to if you want to stay part of it. Plain and fucking simple. This is not a negotiation. Or you try your best to do what the guild wants you to do anyway. Gotta make the effort, right? a second. So the Boglord tendrils are an absolute fucking pain to get. Well, both of these things are a pain to get, actually. You need to kill a lot of mobs. Spargar rep is one of the most obnoxious things in the game. Now the thing is, you do want to get the rep. I have no idea. If you have a way to figure out how many people there are online, by all means tell me. Because I would really like to know. Okay. Horde does have more people than Alliance, and we've been kicking their fucking asses in world bosses. We have some really big guilds on this server. On both sides. Like, obviously we have Apes on Alliance. We also have Mandate of Heaven. And then on Horde side, there's Bakers, Dream State, and others. So, why Orc Warrior? Because Zug Zug. Because Orc Warrior has an expertise bonus with axes, which really helps you out in terms of both DPS and fret. One of the things I would, like one of the things when it comes to playing any, yeah, sorry about that. Phone call. Well, not phone call, phone message. Whatever. I'm gonna start getting angry at my phone company because they keep sending me text about their promotional bullshit and I really just don't give a shit. Most of the time. I don't know. I do not follow the US side. And server isn't any advice on Alliance big pop server on US. Well, fact of the matter is there's probably not gonna be any good Alliance server in TBC. Just plain and simple. I have the tier 4 chest right now on my paladin grade. Well, that's what you got for the poison. A long fucking walk. Do I know if people actually buy this thing? Well, I certainly wouldn't vendor it. They will probably buy it from the auction house. Don't expect a big price for it in TBC. Though some people might buy it for the sake of leveling. but it doesn't matter a great deal, to be quite honest about it. But yeah, it's still worth some gold, just not a lot. If this was classic, I would have sung a different tale, but this isn't classic vanilla anymore. Favorite war spec? Well, Fury is pretty nice. I mean, tier 4 content is gonna be face roll. Like, genuinely, it is fucking face roll. We're able to clear the content in granted, it's hard, like, look, I mean, obviously it's face roll for a guild like mine. Like, in a guild like mine, when it comes to playing a warrior, in a guild like mine, when it comes to playing anything, right? When it comes to raiding is like, kick. Are we gonna clear Karazhan? No, the question isn't whether or not we're gonna clear Magrul or Karazhan. The question is, how far can we stretch it? How many raids can we have? And how fast can we do it? So, yeah. Like, look, my advice if people are playing Alliance, don't necessarily re-roll, because you can probably still find some guilds, but if you're struggling in finding people, you know, in terms of like, look, regardless of what you play, if you're not playing at peak hours, you're going to struggle finding groups regardless of which faction you're in. Like, right now, consider it, it's like, this is the most, right now I'm on the most densely populated server on the entirety of Europe. And finding a group isn't exactly, like, it's not going to be exactly easy at this particular hour. Just a fact. Just a plain damn fact. There's a lot of what gets called dad gamers. What server am I on? Gehenna's, the monster server of Europe. I wonder if the auction house still lags. Well, they fixed most of it. I don't think they fixed all of it, but yeah. How would you like to hear your thoughts on Red Paladins when Mount Hagel BT Sunwell is out? Totain Torch of the Dam, Kata's Edge, or the pole arm from Sunwell Trash? Cataclysm's Edge. ARP is one of the most overpowered stats in the fucking game. Any physical DPS should try and get their hands on as much armor penetration as they can. Any armor penetration trinket or item in general is probably going to be your best item. Which means that you're going to be using a lot of quote-unquote leather gear, but yeah. Kata's Edge is the best weapon. Not sure about the polearm though from Sunwell Trash, but between Torch of the Damned and Cataclysm's Edge, yeah, Cataclysm's Edge, by far. Though, here's the thing though about Cataclysm's Edge. If you have an Arms Warrior in your raid, just one Arms Warrior, don't think you need to pass for every single one of them. But if you have for your main Arms Warrior, you should probably let him get Cataclysm's Edge first, because having a sword is a much bigger deal for an Arms Warrior than a Red Paladin. The reason is this talent, Sword Specialization. How much is Sword Specialization worth? Like in pre-raid gear, I did some testing on private server a while ago. In pre-raid gear, with Lionheart Champion, or was it the Executioner? Either way, with a crafted blacksmithing weapon in pre-raid Bestest lock gear, it was worth 100 DPS. It's worth more with the Cataclysm's Edge. That's how big the sword proc is. The reason the sword proc is so big for warriors is because, well, it can proc off your normal attack, it can proc off a Wind Fury attack, it can also generate a Wind Fury attack. I think. I'm not, I might be getting some of those details mixed up, but either way, it's really damn powerful. Specifics aside. And an extra attack is always gonna be like, most of the damage that physical DPSers will do, like if you look at my DPS here, right, 56% of all the damage I did just there on that mob, 56% of it was purely white hit damage. And this is not something that's gonna change for any physical DPSer in the entirety of Burning Crusade. Most of your damage is not gonna come from your specials. You might as well pressing your buttons is like kind of a pointless endeavor actually in some way. Well, it's important though, like, you know, keeping, well, it is and it isn't though. I'll explain in a bit. So the reason you still want to do your abilities, of course, as a warrior, is you get you remove, when you're using a special, you're removing the offhand penalty, the dual wield hit penalty, which is in effect. So you will do more damage with it. All right, let's see. Would you go Mongoose or Executioner then? Good question. I think Executioner probably wins. No, I'm almost certain it fucking wins, actually. Once it's available. You would use Mongoose until it comes available, then you'd switch to Executioner. You probably wouldn't like, it doesn't... Yeah, like Executioner is just probably flat out better. But replacing it on a weapon you already have is an expensive proposition. Or maybe it's not. Maybe at the point you don't give a shit, so... And you're gold capped, so... Well, bad choices all around. Anyway. So I'm just gonna turn these in and then go kill the marsh light bleeders. How far am I from the Sporgar? Well, I actually am very close. I don't even need to do any quests with them anymore. I'll just kill a bunch of mobs and I'll get, yeah. So will you play in the raids as Arms PvE or Fury? Probably Prot, actually, Phantom. Probably Prot. There isn't any need of tanks for Karazhan at least. I mean, there's not, like, unless they open a new split raid for 25, there I'm probably not going to do Mag and Gruul on this character for a while yet, if ever. I don't care. To be quite blunt about it. But at least not for a while. I still got a lot of shit to do on my Paladin. When I played Red, I had Kata's Edge, Bloodstained, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually a pretty good gear set. I'm not sure if I would care about 4 set tier 6 though, I admit. 2 set is important. 4 set is like what? Hammer of Wrath? You don't even want to cast Hammer of Wrath, really, because you're not gonna do, because it resets your swing timer, doesn't it? Though the stats on certain pieces, the Sunwell piece is probably is good enough to ultimately get tier 4 for that, I guess. Okay, let's talk with the crazy druid. Yeah, and the crazy druid, she's the eccentric druid anyway. A question of gluttony. Well, it's pretty good so far. Some issues, of course. Partly because of the way the servers are, partly because Blizzard released it too early, as they would, as we all knew they would. Like, anyone who played the beta extensively would have told you that TBC was not ready for launch based on the situation in the beta, and people are like, oh, but they have a more advanced version. Doesn't matter. They weren't going to fix all the issues, and we knew that. And so TBC launched with a bunch of issues. Not necessarily game-breaking ones, but issues all the same. Issues that need patches, not just hot fixes. They've been putting in hot fixes, but we genuinely need a big patch. for quite a few issues to be fixed. But overall, it's fun. Well, as fun as I can find WoW these days anyway. One of the things I dislike about WoW is not the not the gameplay, like not the way the classes play or anything like that. I just find the grind insufferable, honestly. I keep thinking to myself, damn, when I was a teenager and I was playing this on retail, I didn't mind it. I played TBC every fucking day. I had over 200 days played by the time Sunwell came out. Keep in mind that Sunwell came out in April, TBC was out in January, so. And I had 200 days played on my Paladin. On my Blood Elf Paladin. I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck have I done with my life even back then? Well, to be fair, a lot of it was also AFK time, and there were quite a lot of times when I was just sitting on my computer, just, you know, scrolling the internet while, you know, having the game on, so it doesn't really matter all that much, I guess. I suppose. So I am neutral with Sporgar. Your putting Spellthread on pants is not the wisest enchant you can do, honestly. If you want to trade survivability for the sake of threat, there are better choices you can make, or more appealing ones. Like, here's the thing: the last thing I would do early on. Like, I wouldn't look at the enchants necessarily to increase your threat. What I would do is look at other or gems. What I would probably do is try and get enough defense. Like, okay, outside of a couple of situations, you don't really need Crush Cap right now. Like, if you're main tanking Gruul, sure. Right? If you're main tanking Mag, absolutely. Realistically, you don't need to give a crap about that right now. Yeah, trying to get the second threat trinket. Like, I don't even have any stamina trinket right now on my Paladin. Granted, I don't really tank bosses right now on the Paladin. Nightbane, because it's better if I slap on Holy Gear and help the healers deal with the transition phase. All right. The Blade of Eternal Darkness. A mage's friend. Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. So your guild abandoned warrior tanks, as all things should be. Like, my guild still uses warrior tanks right now, but that's mainly because we're trying to do a lot of split runs, but even we realize it's like, who gives a shit about, like, warriors long term. Like, warrior tanks are a cheap option, basically. By cheap option, I mean in the sense that they don't need the same kind of gear to tank the same kind of bosses that a druid or a paladin does. Once paladins do have gear, it's like, yeah, they're gonna tank bosses. And all the discussions like, oh, who's the best tank? It's like, no one gives a shit who's the best tank, basically. For tanking bosses. People care about, like, which is the tank that's gonna bring the most buffs to a raid? Which is the tank that's gonna help the raid clear it faster? And that answer to that is not warrior. Why? They don't have the AoE tanking capabilities of paladin, nor do they have the flexibility of druids, or the damage or fret of druids. Druids also have a significant fret bonus. You probably would use a paladin tank on most things though after a while. You need armor potions if High King is one-shotting you. Get some iron shields or stone shields. Have demo shop be kept up, have an imp maybe, something like that. High King one-shotting a tank is weird, I'll admit. I mean, I know he hits harder than many people might think, but still.
Be seeing ya. What you want? How you do it, man? You be careful, man.
They're pretty much the same. Okay, let me just do a quick calculation for you. Assume you're doing 1k fret on a target, right? So, you take 1k fret, you divide it by You divide it by 100, you multiply by 2, you get 20 fret per second. That's how much 2% fret gives you on gloves. Now, of course, your chances are you're gonna do, you know, maybe like half of that. Like, but assume like even if you're doing 500, which is a number any paladin could do with fuck all gear, even if you're doing just 500 fret per second on a target, you're still getting 10 fret per second. Then take it a different way. Now imagine you get 20 spell power. Okay, how much is 20 spell power worth? Well, you take 20 spell power, you multiply it by 1.9, because that's the way Righteous Fury works. It gives you 90%. It's a multiplier of 1.9, and then you divide that by just a second. Just gotta check it. Actually, I think it's just better. You take 20, yeah, you multiply by 1.9, you divide by 8. Why 8? Well, the reason is 8 because that's the cooldown of consecration. Right. Although it's not necessarily... Yeah. How? I can't... Like, here's the thing. You get... If you take the spell coefficient of consecration, you're only getting 20 spell damage on consecration. You're only getting 20 damage. It's not even that because it's not 1.1 to 1, right? It's like 0.995. So it's like you get 20, you divide that by 8 seconds because that's how consecration goes. Because consecration's damage is split over 8 seconds. You have to divide everything by 8. And then you multiply by 1.9, you get a grand total of like less 4.75, right? Or something along those lines. 4.75 fret per second on consecration from 20 SP. Is that worth it? Can be, maybe in some situations. So it's 4.75, yeah. So you gotta ask yourself. And now, of course, you always have other spells to consider as well, because there are other spells that do exist in the game, of course. Yeah. It's just not worth it. That's all I can say, really. It genuinely is just not worth it to go for... That's a really crap axe. I'm gonna go for the sword. It genuinely just isn't worth it from my point of view when it comes down to it. I'm thinking I'm gonna go for... I'm gonna take the axe and I'm gonna replace... should I replace my main hand even though it has hit? Or can I take the sword? Yeah, it's kind of one of those decisions, isn't it? We'll see. But yeah, that's what I think about the decision there. It's not worth it. Like, even if you were... Like, consider this. Even if you were to get 10 fret per second from 20 SP on gloves, it still wouldn't match. You'd still only just barely match the 2% fret enchant if you're doing like 500 fret per second, and you're gonna do a lot. Then you're gonna do more. Personally, on my current gloves, I have 10 stamina from the leatherworking stuff. Because I don't particularly think 20 fret per second or 10 to 20 fret per second is worth it right now. I don't really care. I mean, I do have fret issues, but there are things you can do, right? That's done. So that's how I feel about it right now. Anyway, I do have a bunch of mobs to kill over here, a quest to turn in, all that kind of stuff, all that kind of good stuff, and I do still want to keep gaining. Like, how much rep do I need? I'll probably need like 9 fucking Steam Vaults runs, which is fine. Could have done it better, right? What I could have done is just like Veritable spores. Oh, okay, so it just dropped, alright. Honestly expected the worst situation. But we'll see what the drop rate is. I know this is an item that you can just buy right from the auction house. 10k rep for a couple of gold pieces, yeah, that's actually a worthy trade-off. The quest would probably pay for itself, so. But given the current drop rates, I may not need to give a shit about that. So we'll see. Alright, 3 out of 6. Alright, just gonna head over there, kill the hydras. Is there an actual, is just for ease of use, or is there an actual frap per second difference? There might be, but it should not matter too much. Gavel of Unearthed Secrets is probably the weapon you want to go for anyway. From my personal perspective on this issue. The fact is, you do also want to care to a degree about like your survivability. But I don't know, I've tanked fucking, like I've seen warriors with like 14k, Tauren warriors with 14k speed, which I'm fully buffed, tank for all of Karazhan, and not to have too many issues. And by the way, I have that on my paladin, so. Though I don't have crush cap, so that's always the question, right? When it comes to paladin tanking. And they also generate more fret with no gear, so they have an advantage that just can't be dismissed. Now, herein lies the issue. You need to kill some of these hydras, but they're at the bottom of the lake, so you need to go into the water. Actually, fuck it. I am gonna breathe underwater. Then the problem is that these guys hit hard. Tell you what, should probably head over to Falcon Watch, get the, oh my gosh, no, 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 no. I'm so dead. Or am I? Nah, maybe not. Yeah. Annoying bastards, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, it comes down to... That's a factor as well. I think Gavel is the best weapon you can get right now, just because the damage is normalized, but yeah, it does have its own drawbacks. Gavel has the disadvantage that every one of your misses is gonna hurt you more fret-wise than, say, if you have a Stormcaller. But pull fret is not gonna be is not gonna rest on that anyway. It's gonna your Avenger shield missing is gonna matter more. Or not having Avenger shield. Don't embrace the sanctity or respect, it's not a good idea. Not now at least. When you can kill bosses in 30 fucking seconds in Karazhan. When you can kill Curator before the first Evocate kick doubly. Yeah, we kill in the last Karazhan my guild did, or my group did, and I think were actually the fastest group in my guild to do it that night. Yeah, losing Avenger Shield is a really stupid, asinine idea peddled by people who haven't really played Paladin tank long enough to know what the fuck they're talking about, or who have only been an off tank in a fucking raid environment, which you should, if you're dealing with those kind of Paladins, don't fucking listen to them. They have no conception of what they're really talking about. So yeah, like if you see someone that's deliberately telling you, "Hey guys, embrace a shitty off tank spec," it's like, dude, it's like, have you played TBC properly? Do you even understand how Classic works at this stage? To comprehend that maybe, just maybe, no one gives a shit about using a warrior main tank, and if the choice is in the long run, and when it comes to the choice between using a druid tank on a boss and a paladin tank on a boss, they're gonna want to use the parsers, the hardcore sweaty crowd is gonna want to use a druid to DPS, and basically the only reason a feral druid is even brought to a fucking raid, the only reason you do that is because you want to have an extra tank for the situations where you need that extra tank, be it trash or bosses. But the paladin tank is going to be the main tank from tier 5 onwards, and the druid is going to be the off tank. Off tank / DPSer. Actually, druid tanks are going to play a really important role in this. Druid tanks are going to need to play both as a tank and a DPSer and gear up appropriately for that. I think that's how the speedrun meta is going to be. Could be wrong. Maybe there are some situations in which you'd want a warrior tank. Could potentially think of a couple. Not like maybe for SSC, Carafres could having a shield wall on Carafres would be nice, or on Kael'thas, a last stand, something like that, right? But reduces some of the risks with those bosses, because those bosses can give tanks. and like it can give you like a safety net. But at the same time, when you're probably speedrunning stuff, you're killing stuff so fast that do you think Kael'thas is gonna manage to cast even a single Pyroblast? It's like, might as well put the Druid to tank Kael'thas considering everything. Keck. I absolutely think for Tempest Keep speedruns, it's gonna you're gonna see fewer melee, and you're gonna see a larger number of hunters. You will have warlocks. Make no mistake on this. You will have warlocks, but you will want hunters. So you're gonna have you will want hunters because you don't want to waste fucking time. Like, look. You're probably not gonna bring a single fucking melee in a Tempest Keep speedrun. Why? Because you waste time. Plain and simple. You waste time on Alar, you waste time on Kael'thas, hell, you waste time on Solarian. Like, the only boss where melee DPSers can actually go full pump, and even then you have the limitations of aggro. The only boss in Tempest Keep where melee can go full pump is gonna be Void Reaver. So... And Void Reaver is the kind of fight where if they go full pump, they might as well end up flopping on the floor like fish because, yeah, GG. Void Reaver is a fight that resets threat quite often, or drops threat quite often. And it's not so much of a problem in range DPS, especially if a lot of them are hunters and a lot of them are warlocks. That's not too much of an issue, but if you have melee, if you have a Fury Warrior, that's going to be a bit of a problem. So worth saying that. What, as a warrior?
I am honored.
I mean, if you're tanking as a warrior, you should totally, yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a lot of people were just like saying, oh, private servers got it wrong. No, they didn't. Fun fact. The guild that currently has the speed kill record for Malgar, Gruul, and Mag at this very moment on Warcraft logs, though how much you give a shit about that is a question of is a bit of a discussion. But the guild that has the speed kill records, let me just check to ensure that I'm not just talking out of my ass right now, because they had it, but they might not have it right now. Like, they might not have kept it. Yeah, no, the guild that has the current speed kill records, the guild, like basically the guild that killed all these bosses the fastest, in the shortest period of time, Resist, they have well over half a fucking year, more like 9 months of private server experience on an overtuned server. They know what the fuck they're doing because guess what? They played on a private server, they learned TBC. Progress, the best damn guild, the guild that got all the world firsts in TBC Classic. You know what Progress is doing right now? They're not pushing speed clears because no one gives a shit ultimately about Gruul, Mag, and Malgar being killed in like 16 seconds or whatever. What they're doing right now is they're raiding pretty hardcore, or to some extent anyway, but they're raiding a lot right now beyond their usual weekly farm of bosses. They're raiding a lot of tier 5 on their own private server. They have their own private server, they're running it. Now, whether or not Blizzard should allow that is a discussion in its own right. Personally, I think that allowing guilds to do that when you know they're doing that is not necessarily the wisest thing. Like it's funny, Blizzard. It's funny with Blizzard. So Blizzard got basically clamped down on any streamer that wanted to get into the beta. They clamped down on any streamer wanting to get into the beta by basically forcing them to not stream private server footage. Okay, fair enough. You want to impose those rules? Go ahead. But then Blizzard also does, and yeah, it's different than. I mean, it's one thing for, say, guilds who have played on a private server before, right? Where they were genuinely, like, just progressing for the content and had the regular race schedule. It's a very different thing what Progress is doing. Yeah, they just spawn in the loot and shit, and they don't, here's the thing. Because it's a private server, right? They have that they control. They can spawn whatever. They can kill all the trash, go to a boss, learn said boss. They can kill the trash over and over and over again to improve their route, their speed. Progress is gonna get the world first purely because they're gonna spend half a fucking year just doing tier 5. I don't know, at least a couple of times a week. I'm pretty damn certain. And they'll memorize all the routes, all the mobs. They'll know exactly what they want to do. That's how they are as a guild. That's how they operate as a guild. That's always how they've operated as a guild. Since I've known of them. From the Lightbringer days, the Elysium Lightbringer days. It's their main ace in the hole, really. Because I can assure you, Progress doesn't necessarily have the best players in the world, but they certainly have a lot of dedication and time and willingness. I mean, that matters as well. Individual skill doesn't matter that much compared to compared to like organization and a lot of fucking testing. Pro warriors aren't bad, they're just not needed. There's a difference. Like, here's the thing. Would you rather have a Prow Warrior in a raid, or would you rather have a Feral Druid that gives you 5% crit for each physical? Yeah, no, they're not the best single target tank. That's not what warriors bring to the table. If you believe that they're the best single target tank, yeah, this is not 2007. Druids are better. Druids do more damage and do more fret. Paladins can tank just fine and can reach the same survivability as them. Hell. So can druids eventually. Not that survivability is that big of a concern. Warriors, the main advantage that warriors bring to a raid is not that, oh, they're the best tanks for single target. That's a load of crap shit. What warriors bring to the table is, yeah, cooldowns, being able to demo shot and front grab, which any DPS warrior can do, but whatever. Spell reflect, fear immunity, which can be important for certain boss fights to make dealing with certain mechanics easier. You don't need them to beat those bosses, to be perfectly clear, or those encounters, but it does make your life easier if you're not having to do a fear ward rotation on a tank on, say, Archimond. Yeah. And if you're in a position, yeah, shield wall. There are situations where a shield wall is useful. There are many situations where no one gives a shit about it, so. This is kind of the thing that people need to understand. Things do hit pretty hard in TBC, but the damage is not going to increase in future raid tiers until Sunwall Plateau. Like, the early damage we're taking in TBC is probably going to be some of the highest until we get to that point. And if damage doesn't decrease, but tank survivability does, tank's HP, then tank survivability stops being relevant. But then you get into another problem. Fret. See, here's the thing. Paladins only need one stat in order to increase their fret. Spell damage. That's all. Everything else, like, you might have mana management issues, but chuck a prop paladin in a group with a shadow priest and a resto shaman, so much for mana issues, basically. And druids, well, druids can do great fret. Druids can do great fret in the same gear that they can have a fuck ton of avoidance. Yeah. Well, paladins are bad right now. Paladins are the worst tank with no gear, but give paladins, like, get 500, 600 spell power as a paladin, you will not have fret issues. Because 500 spell power unbuffed is 700 raid buffed. Over 700 raid buffed. Yeah. Yep, you're right. And consider that, like, yeah, feral druids. The tanking meta, I'm gonna call it right now. The tanking meta, what is it gonna be? And I expect this will be the case. The tanking meta will be 1 prop paladin and 2 feral druids, probably. That's what I imagine it will be. That's actually what a lot of people imagine it will be. And here's the thing. Those druids, yeah, sure, they could tank the bosses, no problem, no issue. Maybe some encounters like Eladin or Kael'thas, yeah, would be a bit of an issue because they can't use a shield, they can't get crush capped. Eladin would tear them to shreds, Kael'thas would pyroblast their asses, unless you kill the boss very quickly. But even that aside, yeah, depends on your DPS. Like here's the thing about DPS to understand right now. Tanks need gear from raids to increase their fret. DPS don't need raid gear to really improved to really get to really vastly improve their damage. You can have DPSers do over 2k or about 2k, or at least 1.5, like 1.5k to 2k sustained raid DPS with purely pre-raid gear. No tank is gonna do over 1k or over 1k fret per second with no raid gearing. That's the problem. Tanks need raid gear not for survivability's sake, they need raid gearing for the sake of fret. Paladins especially, because paladins get screwed with low spell power. Paladins are the tank that scales them very well with gear. Without gear, paladins are crap. This is actually a point that I've made over and over and over again in my videos, talking about paladin tanks, that you need gear to be an effective tank. Once you need gear for the stamina scaling that you have because of your talents, combat expertise, and sacred duty. You need gearing because of like it's just a reality. Like I was talking with an officer in my guild right now. Like when I was doing a BM heroic, it's like after it's like he was telling me how disappointed he's been in pallet tanks, and I'm like, and I flat out told him, look, you can't expect, like, and the gear he had, he might have gotten 100 spell power if he got all the upgrades he needed after that point. So he was like already very close to best in slot phase 1 of TBC Classic. Me, I can double my spell power compared to what I have on my paladin right now. More than double. Now, that doesn't mean my fret is gonna more than double, but it's gonna vastly increase compared to what I have it right now. And that's a pretty big fucking deal. It's very easy for DPS to reach their maximum potential or close to their maximum potential early on in TBC. There are some things that will increase their DPS, some things by substantial margins like DST, but outside of that, they're not really, DPSers are not going to gain massive upgrades in terms of their damage until tier 5 comes out. Tanks will gain a massive upgrade in fret. But this is where we go back to the warrior situation, and this is why warriors are shit long term. Warriors don't scale well with gear. They only get 5% extra stamina from gear. If they're Tauren, they get also 5% extra HP on top of that. But here's the crux of the issue. So survivability, although they have the best baseline survivability of any tank in the game, warriors, I'm playing a one right now, and I played one in Classic, and one of the fucking best guilds in the world, so yeah. Warriors have the best baseline survivability and fret, because you have Sunder Armor, because you have Revenge, right? Because you have Crush Cap by default, with just using Shield Block, which actually is more important than you might think, because having Crush Cap means you're also Red Capped, I believe. Anyway, you still want to get the defense cap because you don't want to take crits when you don't have Shield Block on, and there's plenty of things that can eat your Shield Block charges. But immaterial, like beyond that issue, like beyond that situation though, there's only two abilities that, well, free, I guess you could say. There's only 3 abilities that warriors have that scale with their actual gear, that really scale with their actual gear. Shield Slam, Devastate, and Heroic Strike. Yeah. So this is the problem that warriors have. Every ability that the paladin has that does fret scales with your spell damage. Maybe not everything scales as much as Consecration, but every ability you have, be it Holy Shield, Seal, Judgment, Consecration, Exorcism, and Avenger Shield, they all scale with your spell damage. If you're a druid, pretty much most of your abilities, vast majority of your abilities, scale with your gear. So what does that mean? That druids and paladins end up doing substantially a lot more fret than warriors do. It was actually an issue on Netherwing, on a certain server, Netherwing in Sunwell Plateau. The guild I was casually playing in at the time as a backup to the main prop paladin that they had. And basically, I was just a social there. But they had an issue in that they got 2 Eridar twins. Now, here's the thing about Eridar twins. Eridar twins is a 2-tank fight. You need the main tank to mainly tank one of the bosses, and then you need an off-tank because she does a confounding ability, basically gouges the main tank. So the off-tank needs to be second on threat to the main tank. The only tank that's gonna manage to be second on threat against Warglaive geared Fury Warriors or Rogues in melee is gonna be a Druid. Period. There's no discussion on this subject. But here's the issue. The issue wasn't the off-tank threat, though. The issue was the main tank threat. They tried it with a warrior for quite a while. And what they found themselves in was actually wiping, because a rogue or a fury warrior that they had both, would pull aggro from the warrior main tank, and there was nothing the warrior main tank could do. He was a really good player. He knew what he was doing. It's like there was very few things that he had available in his arsenal to deal with the situation. I'm gonna pop in recklessness here, fuck it. He just didn't have a toolkit. And that's because of threat scaling. But it goes even further than that. Not only do warrior abilities not scale as well as paladin or warrior abilities, even though they do substantially more baseline threat, not only that, but you also have to consider this. If you're playing a paladin or if you're playing a druid, you can do a substantial amount of threat with full survival gearing by the point you're in full tier 6. You might have rage issues, but that's an issue warriors would have anyway. You might have rage issues will limit that, so you might need to change gear just to increase your threat generation, your rage generation, but your actual threat on abilities is going to be high. Same with paladins. Paladins may have mana issues with full survival gearing, but what they certainly won't have too much is a lot of threat issues. You might switch some trinkets. Around, though. You might switch some pieces to increase your spell power, but your threat is going to be very strong. Here's the thing, though. If you're playing a warrior, you want hit. You want expertise. And there's very few precious fucking items as a tank that have those stats that are good. There are some, absolutely, that you can use, but yeah, you just have limitations. Once you get crushed, so that's the issue warriors have. They just don't scale well long term. In either threat or even survivability. They can tank anything, of course, obviously. But there's a reason why, even back in the day, and I'm not joking on this, even back in the day, a lot of fucking guilds, what they ended up doing in Sunwell Plateau, they ditched their warrior main tanks and made their druids their main tanks. That was for a damn good reason. It's not that suddenly the warriors stopped being good, decent players, good players. No, it's just that druids ended up being substantially more fucking powerful. Paladins? Well, a lot of people treated paladins like shit back in the day and really underestimated their potential. So, not gonna happen in Classic. Though the paladin situation is gonna be a bit interesting, I feel. I think there's going to be some discussion about Felmist, for instance. Do you have a paladin solo tank Felmist, or do you just put the druid to tank the boss so the paladin can put on more threat gearing to deal with ads? Though the air phase has a certain duration anyway, so do you care about the threat on the ads? Maybe not. With Muro might be also interesting, as Muro might be a fight where 2 paladin tanks could just to tank it, basically. Whereas otherwise you might need 3. There's so many choices, so many options. It's gonna be an interesting ride once we get to that point, if we get to that point. Alright, I need more mushrooms samples. Bring in the shrooms! Also, I need to release Murlocs at the village. I think I'm just gonna go... Yeah. Once I get Crush Cap... Well, you don't really need to worry too much about Crush Cap right now unless you're main tanking things like Prince, Nightbane, Gruul, and Mag. For most general purpose tanking, you don't really need Crush Cap. You should have a gear set that has it. That should be your first gearing priority. But it's fine to not have it for a lot of things that you're tanking. I don't have Crush Cap on my Paladin, but granted, I've got other priorities to deal with right now. Like farming gold, getting professions, leveling the assault, for the guild to be able to do more split raids, etc, etc, etc. Also been unlucky with some pieces of gear that I really fucking wanted, like the trinket and shadow holes. But yeah, as a priority for paladins, once they feel comfortable with their survivability, like this is what I'd say: get the survival gear set, and then do some raid testing, then see what you're comfortable with. Like I'm comfortable with my survivability, so I'm carrying more interested in threat gearing right now on my paladin. Get comfortable with your survivability, and then yeah, go for spell power. And start making trade-offs. The first trade-off you should make as a paladin tank, and the one you should almost always make, don't use a Flask of the Titans or Flask of Fortification. Don't even have it in your inventory. Get the Spell Power Flask. Why is that? Because the Flask trade-off between Titans or Fortification versus Spell Power / Blinding Light is the best trade-off you can make as a pally tank between threat and survivability. You only lose 500 HP. For the gain of 80 spell power. There is no other trade-off in the game that comes even close to how much you gain versus how little you lose. Then after that, poached bluefish, maybe versus spicy crawdad, rings, neck, trinkets, those kind of choices, right? That would be my advice to people. You probably do want to get some stamina trinkets, though. The engineering trinkets are really good if you get the time to farm them. I haven't had that opportunity myself yet. If I see a warlock hastic, say hi. We'll do so. Anyway, I'm gonna go release the Murlocs. That's a stealth mob. That's a stealth mob. GG. Where is it? Yeah, you can do that. Get the badge trinket. Like, that's what I actually use. I use the defense trinket and I use a spell power trinket. I've done, I don't know, 10, 20... No, not 20. But over 10 Shadow Labyrinths. I haven't seen a single fucking trinket. Rip. And it's actually one that I need. I'm using the Cruel Intentions one currently on my Paladin. Okay. So, these quests completed.
Greetings, man. Spirits. Talk to me. Okay, okay. Relax. Be seeing ya. Stay away from them.
How you doing, man? Spirits be with you, man. How are you? Bye-bye now.
Greetings. You have a great day now.
Got the good stuff, man. Stay away from them.
How many times? Probably 4 or 5 times, really. I'm not the guy who plays alts, really. I mean, I leveled on the beta, let's see, I leveled on the beta, I leveled on Karazhan once, I leveled on Netherwing once, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6 times, something like that, yeah. Because obviously I did the once on retail, I only had 1 character on retail. So I'm certainly not as crazy as some other people, but yeah. Anyway. Slicer blade. Fun. Alright. So 64. I'll want to go back to the trainer at 65. Actually, I need to get my Hearthstone set into Shatrath. Thankfully, I do have the flight point, but yeah. Right, so I'm gonna turn in this particular quest, help her out, save her fucking skin.
Greetings. A shot to life.
All right. So, I am going to get the head of the chief, but I'm gonna need some help to do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to get the attack plans.
What you want? Later.
Well, I'm gonna try and deal with the Draenei Chief on my own. We'll see if it works. Is this Shadowlands? Yeah, sure. This is a group quest? Okay. Easy. I'm gonna get the attack plans, turn those in. I'm pretty sure there's a follow-up, so... Captain Crush. How interesting.
What's beyond your mind? Be seen here. Spirits be with you back. You be careful.
Yeah, I'm be right back. I'm just doing a couple of things that I need to in real life. Getting something to eat, for instance. And then I will continue. Well, I'm actually gonna have to go right now. I'll continue this in just a bit. So Christine's